Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call the September meeting of the Climate Action Planning Committee to order. Do a quick roll call of attendance. So I'm Alex Hasha and I'm here.
Ron Israel, present.
Kim Johnson, present.
Let's go on the Zoom.
Matt Panucci, present.
Hale Smith, present.
Kyle Johnson, present.
Arthur Doyle, present.
Marvelous. Thank you, everyone. Before we jump into the agenda, I'd also like to extend a warm welcome to Kai Mueller, who can introduce himself.
Hello, I'm Kai Mueller. I'm the new Municipal Energy Manager, shared between Milton and Randolph. This is my 8th day, and I look forward to working here in the coming months and years.
Can you say a little bit about what your job entails, what you do?
It's helping the towns of Randolph and Milton reduce their energy use, but also identify opportunities to electrify uses and do that at a low cost, at a cost as low as possible to the towns through grant opportunities.
Oh, great.
Excellent. Yes, and Kai will be here on Tuesdays and Thursdays in Milton. And on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, we can't bother him, or we'll be stealing from Randolph. But hopefully we'll sort of find opportunities for partnership as time goes on. Randolph's our neighbor. We should get to know one another. Also, I see
That's a great up.
I see Anna has joined as
Hi,
well.
everyone.
Good to see you again.
Good to see everyone too. Sorry for my hiatus. I had this little guy joined our group.
Hey, little guy.
Future member of the committee.
Yes.
What's his name?
Johnny.
Hi, Johnny.
Nice. Congratulations.
Thank
And,
you.
And we've had one more member join us in the room. Stephen Popkin is here.
Hi, Steve Popkin, 25-year town member, town resident. Joined what, 2 years ago?
Yes. Yeah, I'm just having everybody state their name for the AI minute taker.
Steve, Stephen, you may want to move closer to wherever the microphone is. So maybe, yeah, maybe to the right of Alex or the left of Alex, or.
We have a new AV setup in the room this evening, so I think it's better. I have more autonomy. It just took me a minute to figure out which end was up.
Okay.
Right. But so let's now jump into the agenda quickly. Just have a vote to approve the meeting minutes. Did anybody have feedback on the minutes of our July 29th meeting that I circulated?
Move their adoption, Mr. Chairman.
All right, we have a motion to approve.
Second.
Second from Stephen Popkin. All in favor? Oh, I have to do a roll call vote because we're in hybrid, so Matt Panucci,
Yes.
Kyle,
Yes. Yes.
Arthur,
Yes.
Alex Hasha, I vote yes. Kim,
Yes.
Ron?
Yes.
Stephen votes yes. Okay, the minutes are approved. And now we can jump into the meat of the evening. Let me share my screen. I'll make an effort to make it readable. Okay. All right, right, so just a brief review of what's happened since we last met in July. At our July meeting, we aligned on language for a town meeting article to set climate goals for the town. Voted to approve those, and we sent them to the select board, where they subsequently voted to put it on the warrant. So this article will be considered at the fall special town meeting. And that triggers a review process by the town's warrant committee. Their role is to research the financial impacts of every article that goes to town meeting, but also the sort of general impacts of articles, and make a considered recommendation to town meeting as to whether that article should be passed, rejected, or sent back for further study. So every article that the select board or another body puts onto the warrant will go through the warrant committee. They had a initial meeting to discuss our article in August. I was not able to attend, but I did meet with the chair of the warrant committee assigned a member of the warrant committee to sort of focus on this article. Andrew Coe met with me, and we talked it over and sort of went over his questions, and he gave a sort of brief overview of the article at the warrant committee meeting. They had a bunch of questions, sort of characterize some level of confusion about what the article would and would not require the town to do, particularly around the sort of mentions of the climate leader community's requirements that are still outstanding. So, in an attempt to give some context in the language of the article itself, there was then a lack of clarity about what does the article do, what does it not do. And so after that, and in light of the questions they had additional conversations with warrant committee members, and kind of agreed on an approach that aligns better with the norms of town meeting in Milton, which is that whereas in other towns it's common to include a lot of context and rationale in the language of an article like this, Milton never does that. You cannot find examples where that's done. And so it will be more familiar to our town meeting members if the article is very succinct about specifically what it requires, and is as short as possible. And then all that explanatory context is moved into the warrant committee's report and recommendation, which is printed in the warrant, and all the town meeting members will receive it when they receive the warrant. And then also, if we want to expand upon their report, we'll have the opportunity to give a presentation at town meeting for 10 minutes. So because the warrant committee seemed to be leaning towards, this probably makes sense, but it just needs to be clarified to show that it's not sort of committing the town to vast unknown expenses in the future. The language could be streamlined to clarify that, and sort of rationale moved into those alternate locations that they could probably recommend passage, right? So then, when we worked on the building code article last year, that warrant committee opposed the article, and so we ended up with a report that was not giving all the rationale for supporting the article that we thought it should have, but we were able to make that case in our presentation. Here, I think we have the opportunity to have more of a sort of collaborative approach with the warrant committee, assuming that this has just been discussion with a few members of the warrant committee. When it goes before the full warrant committee, they will agree. So I think what we're trying to do right now is sort of make our best effort to position the article language and some supporting rationale to make it easy for the warrant committee to support this, and also to make it to give them something to start from in writing their report. Does that make sense? Any questions about the task at hand or what's happened?
So what is the process for rewriting it?
I have rewritten it. We had a meeting. Arthur and I met with Jay Funneling, the chair of the warrant committee, and sort of talked over the revisions we wanted to make. And so they're here and on the screen in front of you. This is the revised language. If it would help, I can also put up a copy that kind of shows the edits. Let's see. Is this it? No, that's it. Let's see. Yeah. No, actually, I've already accepted the edits, so forget this.
It's okay.
So just to summarize what I changed, we had basically the second half of the original language. Made an effort to mention the climate action plan, that it's full of the sort of fiscally responsible actions, investments, and policies that the town might consider to move towards these goals. And we also mentioned the benefit of that this moves us towards qualifying for climate leader communities certification, and that would position the town to receive significant grant funding. And we mentioned that all in the article text. That's basically been removed from the article and kind of incorporated in this rewritten rationale section at the end. And another recommendation from the warrant committee was like focus on all the great things that we'll get by doing this. So we expanded on the Climate Leader Communities program and the grants that it makes available. Other changes, I think the original article language, actually, let me just stop sharing for a second and find the original article, so I'm not making stuff up. And feel free to comment while I'm doing this. I don't want to be the one talking.
Alex, hi, this is Hale. At the last meeting, I thought there was wide agreement that the most important thing to get across with the town meeting was to focus on the climate leadership certification. And I'm not quite sure why this article, the revised article, is focusing on the greenhouse gas inventory. To me, that seems like something, that's 5 years away. It's not immediate. Why not, turn this article around and really go for what we want, which is that leadership certification.
And just to add to that, whenever you use terms like greenhouse gas, that has become politicized, but focusing on the value to the town of getting that certification and getting grant money and lowering our costs over time makes it more tangible, I think, the town meeting members.
Okay, I can't find the original language, so rather than get caught up looking for that, we all sort of remember what we had in there. So let me respond to that. I think it's a reasonable concern. The you can't direct the town to qualify for a grant program that another body certifies, right? So you could direct the town to complete all 3 eligibility criteria. But then the article would have to commit the town to adopting a zero emission vehicle policy, which I think of the remaining requirements is the one most likely to have a significant cost. The warrant committee is not going to recommend passing an article that commits the town to substantial unknown future costs. We have I'd say pretty uniform support from the select board and from the town staff who would need to make this happen to work on this. And having the will of the voters in Milton to take these goals seriously, as expressed by town meeting, makes it even easier for them to sort of make this a strategic priority. But if we put completing all the climate leader community certification requirements into the article, then I think we'll get stuck on an insistence that we understand upfront like what fleet electrification is going to take, and what, whether it's feasible, how long it would take, how much it will cost, and those are kind of unknowable at this point. What we need is the resources and strategic clarity to actually spend the time to get that done, right? So I think by taking it out, we're turning this into kind of a no-brainer for the warrant, I hope, for the warrant committee and town meeting, because it moves us towards qualifying for grants. It commits us to very little future costs, but it provides strategic clarity that we're going to work on these requirements in a focused way and make those decisions in a responsible way in the future. And so that's basically what I say in here. So I mean, to like give the outline of this rationale I put together, it just starts with so this is another change. We had the goals in Massachusetts, the climate goals in Massachusetts law in the text of the article. The warrant committee found that distracting, right? As well. So I've moved it down here. Notes that the law sort of requires state agencies to plan and report on progress, although it doesn't create penalties for missing these. And it doesn't create any obligations for towns, but it does create voluntary programs to support towns in partnering with the state on this, i.e. climate leader communities. So like in the first paragraph, we're getting to climate leader communities. And this will be the discussion that happens at town meeting. We'll talk about all this stuff, but having it in the article means you're binding the town to something that's hard to predict the cost of. Right? So I think it makes it easier to. We're going to talk about it at town meeting. We're gonna spend the whole time talking about the climate leader communities and the climate action plan. But I think by moving it out of the article itself, we significantly reduce the risk that like the warrant committee opposes it and we have to have an adversarial sort of dueling presentations moment like we did with the building code. And that we would get sort of caught up on fears that a zero emission vehicle first policy will be unaffordable. So this way, you know, if it turns out, if we do the research on zero emission vehicles and it turns out that they're unaffordable, then the town can still change course. But I think trying to get it all done at once could backfire on us. That's certainly the guidance from the warrant committee, and I thought it would be better to partner with them than to.
Hey, Alex, with the exception of the rationale, which is obviously important, the body of the article is more or less what you sent out on email sometime in the last week to 10 days, correct? No changes in the first half, the actual article itself?
I think we had, we changed, that's why I wish I could find the original. We had the word direct the select board.
That's right.
Okay.
Somewhere in here, and we changed it to authorize everywhere.
Okay.
One thing I wish, I've been trying to get feedback from town council on the sort of binding versus advisory nature of this article and whether we can direct the select board to do. So one of the comments from the warrant committee is I don't think that an article can direct the select board to do anything.
That's right, by virtue of their distinct roles. So what the article does in this instance, by using the word authorize, is to have town meeting empowering the select board to move in this direction.
Yeah. So it's all Greek to me, so to speak. I'm not a lawyer or a legislator. We will get town council review of this, hopefully before the meeting with the warrant committee on Monday. I think the new town council we've been waiting for the new town council to be selected, and that decision was made on Tuesday. So hopefully we'll hear back on that soon.
Alex, it might be worth, I'd like to hear your opinion and others that have read some of the other town articles, which I think we characterized as, what was the term you used? It was almost ceremonial. Again, I might not have the terminology right. And we didn't really want to go down the path of a ceremonial article that really didn't do anything, colloquially. What would you suggest is the teeth behind this that ensures that it is also not ceremonial like some of the other towns that we did not want to follow?
Yeah,
I'd be interested to hear anybody else that's got that level of experience to chime into.
So I would just characterize it. The reason we're not writing a I don't remember the term ceremonial, but an article that includes a lot of context and rationale in the article language. My main reason for that is because it violates the norms and habits of our town meeting, and for no other reason. So if people are not used to seeing that, and I consistently get feedback that, oh, Milton doesn't do that. I actually want to push back. I mean, there's this idea, if it doesn't sort of compel some very specific and narrow thing, then it's not appropriate. I think Milton needs to get more comfortable with strategic planning. And strategic planning is not about saying in advance, you're going to do exactly X, exactly Y, for exactly this much money on this day, right? Which is been the norm for how our town meeting articles work. If you want to do something strategic and complex in a big organization, that requires setting goals and principles for action, but not in a binding way, right? You go to all the leaders in your organization, you say, these are the goals, and we expect you to use your discretion to find a path to these goals. That, like, to me, that's what strategy means. And we do very little of that in Milton because we have this aversion to advisory or sort of non-binding town meeting articles. But town meeting is not going to approve something that binds you to unknowable future expenses. I don't know. Larger governments do it all the time, but no, I don't think that would get through Milton's town meeting.
So your perspective here is this is not assuming that the rationale. It sounds like it's flipped here. Really, the teeth are in the rationale,
Yeah.
and the article is much more general. But that's okay as long as people are understanding what we're after in the rationale, that this thing actually has some teeth. I'm paraphrasing what I think I heard.
Yeah.
Right.
So
If I may just jump in with an analogy, we might have a state law, for example, and all of the rationale is in the law. It creates whatever it's going to create, and then there are ultimately created the regulations behind the law. So here we have, as Alex was saying, the empowerment by town meeting of the select board to move in a direction, and then an explanation of what that direction is all about in the rationale.
right, and so I think I've actually heard this question, like, what teeth does it have, from at least half a dozen people in the community and this committee, and it's a totally reasonable question. I think that we actually have a fairly strong sort of consensus desire in our existing leadership and staff to make a real effort on this. And so sort of compulsory teeth are not necessary. I think what they lack is empowerment. So I do think that this will empower them to act. And I also think that we're going to have sort of 2 opportunities a year to bring things to town meeting, and bringing climate actions to town meeting kind of one digestible piece at a time, I think may be a better strategy than trying to ask for everything at once. Because I don't know, my experience, I haven't been to too many town meetings, but it seems like people really want to know when they approve something, like what's the fiscal impact.
And that would be, sorry to jump in. I'm sure there's some other people that have some questions or comments. That you're foreseeing that as the strategy, Alex, is kind of step by step. We would perhaps bring more articles with more specifics, assuming there's something that we want, but that would be the strategy. Okay.
Yes, although my understanding is that the select board and town administrator don't need a town meeting article to adopt the vehicle policy. The town is already subject to, or already complies with green community eligibility requirements regarding vehicle purchases. And so this would add on to that, but the process they used to put that in place would be similar. And similarly, the municipal decarbonization roadmap is a fairly well-defined planning process that the Department of Energy Resources provides technical assistance for at no cost to the town. We just have to apply for that. Next opportunity is in November. And it was already on Kai and Nick Connor's radar when we met today, you know, so the town's already kind of organizing to do these things and sees the benefit, and so having the endorsement, the authorization of town meeting will just make their job easier. I don't get the feeling that we need teeth at this stage. Everybody's kind of moving in the same direction. And we could always come back and go for teeth if things start going off the rails. That's how I think.
Yeah. To that directly, and to your initial question, Matt, I think that the teeth comes from, or the teeth has to come from the select board, and so the sort of, I don't mean it pejoratively, but sort of punts it to them in a collaborative way that we hope and expect they'll take up that authority, and put some meat on this.
Does the town meeting and or the select board need to approve our climate action plan?
It'd be nice if they did. I don't think they need to in any specific sense that I've come across yet.
Okay.
And I have wondered, you know, the whole time we've been doing this, our charge is to prepare a climate action plan for the consideration of town meeting. What that means, because the idea that we would get 300 town meeting members to read 40 plus pages of climate action plans strikes me as ludicrous, or endorse everything therein. Especially since it's a living, evolving document as we learn as we do, right? So I think it's value to have it for strategic planning purposes. I think trying to make some sort of binding commitment to do everything in there exactly as it's written strikes me as a fool's errand.
But at some point, hopefully sooner rather than later, I assume we're going to start trucking down the road of implementing the plan. And we just go ahead and do that.
Yeah. Steve?
Just sort of coming off of that, I had understood that we had made a decision, maybe tacitly, that the climate action plan was to remain draft because we wanted it to change over time. And based on this discussion, that plan is sort of the seed for setting the vision and path, right? That's built into this article to empower town government to act. And so we've given them ideas, a direction, a vision, a purpose of why they should do it, because they could get more money from grants and all. It will benefit the town in multiple ways. That's in the plan, but they're empowered through their different departments to go and enact the plan. Our goal, as I see it after this, is to make sure that that plan is up to date, that we're tracking what's happening and keeping current with the latest technologies and thinking in the area. Is that tracking with where you're thinking?
I think I agree with all of that. Yeah.
But just to add to that, I don't think it's a question that the plan is up to date. It's that, is the plan being implemented?
Well, that's what the article is for, to empower the town to do stuff.
I've always had kind of a pragmatic attitude about that looked like you can write stuff down. Nobody's gonna do it unless it's some combination of in their job description, they're really excited about doing it. They have the resources available to them to start doing it. And those things are not gonna happen by themselves, right? So writing the plan creates this document that anybody in town can discover and realize that action item 24.76B is their passion and they want to come help do it, right? And so partially we'll discover which of our recommendations have legs in the sense that somebody actually wants to do it and can do it. And if there's something in there that we as a committee feel passionate about that's not happening, we gotta go knock on doors and recruit support and get meetings with town staff to try to get the ball rolling.
I thought though that it was our responsibility as members of the committee and as persons who have put together the different components of the plan to take the lead in implementing those different components and to engage other people in that process. Is that right? Is that true?
I think that's consistent with what I just said. Yeah.
Okay.
But
No,
the
we
plan is
obviously have a
so-
role, but none of us is gonna be personally working on every item in the plan. I think the ones that we understand best and care most about will individually focus on. And finding the appropriate partners in town hall and in the community to get the ball rolling is the.
If I may, Mr. Chairman, as an example, this past week, I had a meeting with Cassandra Calabro, who is the environmental coordinator for the town of Milton, reporting to the town engineer, who reports to the director of the DPW. And our meeting was on waste management in the town for an update on policies, practices, recommendations, metrics that have been identified and so on down the line. And today let her know of plans to reconvene the working group that we have on waste management at a point later in this fall, since we haven't yet gotten to the fall. And just as an example of the type of activity you and Juan are talking about. So we are engaging, if you will, below the policy umbrella in actions and activities. And that's true of all of
Alex.
us who are on working groups, like Ron has been working on, et cetera.
Was that Hale just now?
I guess I'm still concerned that we would fail to present an article that really moves the process forward. And I don't know, do you recall I sent you a straw man article back a month or so ago? Is that something that you've shared or discussed with anybody else?
I think I circulated it to the committee when you first sent it.
Do you mind if I share it again and just just as a example of what I think would be more actionable than what we currently have before us?
Let's see if I can pull it up.
I have it. I can, if you could allow me to share, I can pull it up.
How do I do that? Let's see.
Go down to the share and let multiple people share.
The green arrow pointing up.
I'm in there. Let's see. Okay, there we go. You able to share?
Yeah, okay, let me see what I can do here. All right, can everyone see that?
Maybe just make it a little bigger.
It's not large enough?
Just
Let's see.
magnify it a little bit.
Yeah.
Bottom right.
See if I can figure out how to do that.
Bottom right is a little slider. You can just move it over.
Right. Gosh darn. Oh, okay, I see. Let's see. Oops, too much. Minimize that. I'm working with my left hand because I had surgery on my right hand yesterday, and I'm not very good using a mouse with my left hand.
That's perfect.
All right.
Okay, so I mean, I think the rationale I gave earlier, that sort of including all the component requirements of climate leader communities in the language of the article will trigger concern and ungrounded debate at town meeting and in the warrant committee on what this will all cost. And that we have currently leaders and town staff who already have momentum to achieve climate leader community certification, want to do it, and that outcome will be facilitated by having a clear expression of support from the town. But leaving it discretionary will make it a lot easier to pass. And if we put this in front of the warrant committee or town meeting, there's a I mean, I think probably it would still pass town meeting, but much more controversially because it says we'll approve projects. What projects, right? What's the budget for those projects? As recommended by the Climate Action Planning Committee. Does that mean everything that we mentioned in the Climate Action Plan? Where's the Climate Action Plan? I haven't seen it. And it commits to adopting a zero emission vehicle first policy. What's that going to cost? Isn't fleet electrification complicated and long term? Where's an example policy? Does it include school buses? Right? Like I think those are all good questions. They're not ones that I want to get hung up on in town meeting. I do think that they should be worked out in public at future select board meetings. But like one thing at a time, And because we have, I think, clear, we're not trying to force this through with the town staff and leaders who are hostile to it. They're interested in doing it. So I'm not sure that writing it into the article is necessary. Sorry, I'm talking at length. So. Does that make sense?
Well, not entirely, to be honest with you, Alex. I mean, I wrote this so that there's absolutely nothing that town's required to do or spend. So it's drafted as to work towards. The zero emission is, for if available and practical. And then in the commitment to be fossil fuel for new buildings, I would think that's something, the town might well agree, right up front, because we've got a bunch of new buildings coming down the road, and why not get that issue on the table right away?
So if I'm a lawyer and I say commit to eliminating on-site fossil fuel use, does that create a legal obligation to pick the heat pump even if it costs 100 times more than a natural gas furnace in 2040? Right? We had similar language in the first draft.
The whole focus is to get to the climate leadership status, and that's one of the requirements. I
think it's the focus in your mind and in our mind.
Yeah.
But we had similar language in the article that we sent to the select board. It was much more like this than what we have now. And the warrant committee got really wrapped up with questions about the intent of the article and
All right.
what it meant. And
Well,
so
it's,
what we've got now is with the explicit sort of advice of the warrant committee members who are focusing on this about like what's going to be clear for the warrant committee, and I think what's clear for the warrant committee will be clearer for town meeting members as well.
yeah, okay.
If we're basically, I think we're all on the same page about the outcomes we want over the next year or two, and kind of debating which communication approach is more likely to achieve those outcomes.
All right,
Yeah,
well,
I think I think all of us have goals like those that we're ultimately wanting to move towards. But I think getting them implemented probably would require, well, for one, probably would require several articles, because having a electric first vehicle policy itself is very complicated to hash out all the exact details of what that should look like, who decides what's practical and affordable, et cetera, and how is that decided and determined. So I think each of those would need to probably take a lot of work to develop over time.
Especially also because a town meeting decision is not required on the vehicle policy. Putting it before town meeting runs the risk of having it be rejected when it might have sailed through by other means,
yeah. Well, maybe is there a way to simply say the goal of this article is to authorize the Climate Action Planning Committee to work towards certification?
Well, we
Just
don't
leave it at
need
that?
authorization to work towards it. But that's our charge. But I think the select board and town staff leaders do rely on policy direction from elected leaders like the select board, but also town meeting to decide how to prioritize their efforts.
I think there's wisdom in not being too confrontational at the get-go and to build a track record with the town meeting and the select board that supports what we're doing, however general it might be at the first glance.
Yeah, I think formally adopting these goals and committing to measure progress towards them is not a small thing. And I think it is pretty important that this article succeed, to set set us on a good non-adversarial path.
Okay, well, I don't, I just wanted to get everyone's reaction, and if that's too aggressive, then we can, shoot for, maybe a less frictional approach.
I mean, I do think if we need to in the future come back and be more direct about pushing for something that's not happening, we can do that. There's a town meeting every 6 months at least. It's supposed to be one every year, right? But I've talked a lot. Are there any other folks who kind of feel the way Hale does that want to speak to it?
It sounds like from your perspective, there's already people in the town government that's ready to work on these or already working on these different aspects of this. This is just sort of helping, you know, with the work that they're doing already. So
That is my impression lately.
let's not, you know, from my perspective, it's okay, we're putting an article in place that, you know, justifies them going down certain paths. So we're empowering them.
And, you know, we're gonna have an election 18 months from now that we'll have three of the 5 select board members will change and things could look very different. But I think better to cross that bridge when we come to it. Because people, if you try to tie hands, people get instinctively defensive. That's my instinct here. So should we discuss, did anybody read through the rationale section and have any feedback on that? Because I'm basically planning on using that as the outline for the discussion with the warrant committee on Monday. And I hate for any of it to be, say, wrong or sort of insufficiently persuasive.
I think it answers a lot of the questions that they had at the Warren Committee meeting, especially with you there to help explain things. They seemed really, you know, like they had so many questions. You know?
Yeah. So one thing I was able to confirm in the last couple of days that I wasn't sure about is that these the $1 million accelerator grants and the $150,000 technical support grants are offered once per climate leader community per grant cycle, which is like a 3-year. I don't know if they've committed to them always being 3 years, but assuming they were 3-year grant cycles from now to 2050, the cumulative benefit could be over $10 million over the lifespan of these goals. So it's a pretty significant resource.
Is that money in the state budget? Is that where it comes from?
Yeah, so I think future grant programs will be obviously contingent on future state budgets, which I don't know. One has to accept a certain amount of uncertainty.
So none of that relied on federal matching funds or anything like that.
I don't think so. But of course, you know, the federal government will influence the rate at which the electric grid decarbonizes, as we've seen. Yeah, so I tried to kind of clarify this listing of requirements and the impact of the article, right? So we've completed 3. The article will satisfy 1 and put us in a good position to diligently complete the next 2 at the discretion of town staff and leaders.
Hey, Alex, how does this article accomplish goal 3?
I sent the article language to our liaison at the Department of Energy Resources and asked, would this article satisfy requirement 3? And he said that it would.
Okay,
I think it's
well, there you go.
It's the Department of Energy Resources certifies whether these requirements have been met or not. So.
Okay, is it worth in 6 to just note, as you have in 1 and 2, either a date when that was
I thought I had done that.
Satisfied?
Adopted at May 2024 town meeting.
There you go.
Right. is it fair to say is currently being studied by anyway, I'm not sure what to say here, but the town hall is, has started putting some thought into this. Then when we talk about cost estimates, we can say the only thing that this specifically requires is a greenhouse gas inventory, and that we had a $50,000 grant which covered the two that we have. And it's conceivable that it could be done by town staff with publicly available tools. So I would say $50,000 per greenhouse gas inventory is sort of an upper bound on what it might cost. So I think that puts us in the range of small, no-brainer investment in the future, I hope. Quick summary, and then I put in an FAQ here, which I tried to cover every question that I heard from the warrant committee in their meeting. They had asked, what does this mean in terms of Milton's emission reductions? So we had that in the climate action plan because state has already achieved some substantial emission reductions since 1990. So the 2030 goal would be a 36% reduction from 2017, 68, 87%. And oh, by the way, we were going in the wrong direction, as we all know. A little bit of discussion of a zero emission vehicle first policy, because I think even if we're taking it out of the explicit text of the article, like we do want to talk about climate leader communities, and we are going to mention this requirement. So it's natural to sort of wonder what the impact would be. And some questions I heard from the warrant committee were like, does that mean we have to get rid of perfectly good fuel vehicles? It does not. This is a purchasing policy. So when they're end of life and being replaced, the policy would guide the town to zero emission battery electric vehicles if commercially available and practical. And then if they're not, there's a waterfall of plug-in hybrids, traditional hybrids, and then fuel efficient vehicles, which is the fuel efficient vehicle requirement is a current green communities requirement the town already complies with. Sort of spelling out some of the exemptions that all the towns that have done this use, because the one concern is, oh my God, does this mean we have to buy electric fire trucks and school buses? Certainly not immediately. I spoke to sustainability directors in Lexington and Amherst, and let's say Lexington and Amherst. Neither of them have electric school buses yet. And there's sort of an exemption under the practicable. They're extremely expensive, but the company that we contract for school buses is I checked their website this week because it was like installing their absolutely heinous app to try to track my daughter's school bus, but they're doing all kinds of fleet electrification work. Beautiful pictures on their website. So
there's a certified clean idle. I don't know if you know what that is.
no,
But I took a picture of a school bus. I went to a Greek festival. They had us parked in the school parking lot. I saw that on the side of their school bus fleet.
yeah. So I think the gist that we want to communicate about this is like it's a definitely a process, and it will not happen all at once. The town would start with the low-hanging fruit, buying plug-in electric administrative vehicles, expanding charging resources, and sort of working towards full fleet electrification. That would probably involve infrastructure and vehicles that are just not on the market today, but probably will be by 2050. They asked, well, what happens if the state misses its goals? Are these even realistic? And I think I personally think the state will miss its 2030 goal. It might even change the law after it does. But it's important to understand that even the law only requires the state to plan for the goal, to report on the goal, and when, if and when they miss any of these goals, to seriously communicate with the public about what they're doing to remediate the situation. If the goals change, our article's worded in a way that I think would implicitly change our goals too, to sort of align with the state law. And again, I want to make this point that Milton needs some strategy. We can't just only do the sort of thing that we must do that's right in front of us, but taking on big challenges like this requires some strategic clarity combined with the discretion required to pursue opportunities as they come up. And I know we mentioned in our July meeting that we really want to take this opportunity to mention the climate action plan and that it's good and that you should read it, and we hope it will be a recurring topic of discussion in town and in town hall. So if people are wondering, what are we going to do to move in this direction? Just yes, we have a plan, and it's based on the state's plan, which broadly is focused on electrification and maximizing energy efficiency in buildings and vehicles. So there you have it.
Do you know if those grants you were referring to is what the rate of, the success rate is in applying and getting those for multiple years?
No, there's no track record on that. I went looking for that. This guidance I got from our DOER rep, Dylan Patel. The accelerator grants can be used for on-site solar, renewable heat and heat pumps, energy storage, and building decarbonization activities. But because the first cohort of climate leaders was certified in May of this year, there have been no, I think some grant applications have probably gone in, but they're not public or approved yet, so we don't know success rates. My intuition is that getting in early, there will be a better chance of
These ones.
getting a good share before the well goes dry. Not that it ever will. Is there any further discussion?
I'm good with it.
Sorry, what was that?
I said I'm good with it.
Okay. So then I'd like to entertain a motion to approve the revised language of the article, to send back to the select board and to use as a basis of our presentation to the warrant committee.
Motion to approve, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. So Matt Panucci's offered a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Ron Israel seconds. Okay, and we'll have a roll call vote. Arthur?
Yes.
Matt?
Yes.
Kyle?
Yes.
Stephen?
Yes.
Ron?
Yes.
Kim?
Yes.
Alex vote yes. I want to thank you for your input. I think your perspective is shared by many people in town and also by some town meeting members who've talked to me. So while I feel strongly that we should kind of follow the guidance of the warrant committee on sort of positioning this for easy passage, I will need to explain that reasoning to many people between now and October, so your pushback is very helpful and appropriate. All right,
Mr. Chairman,
yes,
Alex, was that a unanimous vote that we had?
it was.
Right, and the reason I asked, want to confirm that is that when presenting, you might have that indicated that this article is coming to before town meeting with the unanimous vote of the Climate Action Planning Committee.
Okay. Yeah, I don't want to paper over the concerns of an associate member, but I take that
No,
nice.
Alex, I'm fine with that.
Okay, great.
I don't know do I get a vote as an associate member or not?
You do not.
I do. Okay.
But what would you have voted?
I'd vote for it.
Okay, great. I'll say unanimous then, because I do think that sounds better.
It's kind of good marketing for the Climate Action Planning Committee that a lot of people don't really know what we do. So it's great to have like the whole town meeting be like, oh, wait, these guys, this
Yeah.
is what they're
Well,
doing.
that was the original, the kind of push to do this, was in the July Select Board meeting. I said, we should really try to get something from the Climate Action Planning Committee at town meeting, every town meeting.
Yeah.
And I thought that made a lot of sense. And so starting with something,
Kind of
hopefully
softball,
just
yeah.
we could knock out of the park. But to me, this feels very meaningful. I feel like an endorsement of all this work we've been doing for the last few years, at least in a general way.
A big thank you to you.
Yeah, well, thank you.
Sure.
Yeah, Alex,
Yes,
just skipping ahead a little bit, assuming this does pass and we reconvene in, October, we 80% of our weight we're presumably throwing behind helping the town achieve certification on climate leadership communities, or do you think it's a bit more spread, pushing, different parts of the climate action plan, as we continue to go along? It would seem to me we'd want to put a shoulder behind climate leadership, but just interested to hear your thoughts.
yeah, I mean, I think going back to the discussion that Ron raised earlier, about like how do we as committee members see the climate action plan implemented. I think that's where the benefit of our diversity and our numbers comes in, right? Like I know that I personally will probably continue to focus on the climate leader certification, and at some point the strategy and action recommendation on the plan that I personally feel most resonance with is the residential clean energy coaching program. If 18 months from now I'm spending a lot of my time on that, I'll be super happy, because I'm really interested in reducing building emissions, and I feel like I understand what needs to be done and who I want to help and work with, and I think everything in the climate action plan requires that kind of clarity and passion from someone, right? And so it will take all of us to kind of take chunks of the climate action plan and roll up our sleeves to work with the town to see it done. And I think part of what I hope will come out of the sort of the focusing mechanism of working towards climate leader communities is that we're going to have to develop relationships and a kind of process in town hall to when I work on big projects in companies, it's like, okay, you assemble the team and then somebody owns the backlog and the roadmap, and you have a huge list of things that need to get done, and you meet, on a regular cadence to sort of prioritize them and farm out tasks. And we don't really have any of that kind of working model in place because town hall has been really understaffed and there's been a lack of strategic clarity that this is something the town wants done. I think now that Kai is here and if this has been passed, I think we're in a much better situation, but we're still, still resource constrained, right? It's still a relatively small town. We're not Somerville with a sustainability department of 12 people. So we're not gonna be able to make progress on everything at once. But I think like a more organic process where each of you kind of identifies the things that you really wanna see happening now and then tries to figure out like, how do I get that moving? And working, using the committee to sort of help unblock things. I think that's the name of the game in my mind.
That'd be a useful discussion for at some point in
And we need to go
Q4.
back to having our sort of standard meeting where we
totally.
working group updates and we talk about what we're trying to get done now.
Yeah, and that was my feedback to you on on email as we were going through the article revisions is that let's make sure that we are not getting that the plan doesn't get stale and we could all focus on climate leadership certification, which is important. But in the meantime, a whole bunch of that work just starts to age and people lose resonance with it. So I agree. We're going to have to revisit the plan and figure out where the priorities are and start making progress on some of that stuff.
Well, I will plan to organize a meeting of the conservation group between now and the next meeting of this group to focus on how we're going to implement that component of the plan. And it sounds like Arthur is going to do a similar thing with the Waste Management Committee. So that just leaves the transportation group, is that right?
Yeah, the transportation group, we lost a lot of members. So Steve, it's you right now.
Right.
I know that my focus will be on kind of getting this article passed, working with the town on climate leader communities, building stuff, and also recruiting, right? And so this is something that we can all. I want to be super clear. I don't want you guys to feel like you need my permission to like independently push on elements of the plan or developing relationships. So I'm not getting the sense that anybody thinks that, but I think it's just fair saying.
No, but it may also require a reallocation of the committee. So if transportation needs help and we're going to focus on the mitigation strategies, which is the right thing to do, then maybe what we need to do is get some folks off of wildfire and flood, knowing that it's written, it's not it's still in the plan, but given that we're a small committee, maybe we need to consider shifting some resources to make sure that we're focused on the four main pillars of mitigation.
Yeah, I don't want to tell people how to spend their time because I think it's volunteer work. It's very hard. It's hard enough to do volunteer work that you're passionate about. So like if there's just no interest or background knowledge and you don't know where to begin, like I wouldn't beat yourself up or like I wouldn't presume to reassign people in some top-down way. But yeah, let's I think we will get more done if we can focus and identify some things that there's like a kind of critical mass of energy for. I personally struggle with the transportation plan. I don't understand the area well, and I feel like it's like car culture is super entrenched in our infrastructure and our habits. But definitely, you know, it's the number one emission source in Milton, right? So we should
Happy
be
to have
as
people
part.
join me.
And we need to recruit, right?
Yeah.
So we have the school committee seat, the planning board seat, I believe Maggie will be reappointed, it just hasn't happened yet. But the school committee seat, we have a Chamber of Commerce seat. We need a high school student.
One more associate member?
And one more, so, because Fiona has stepped down. So on Tuesday, Hale and Anna were appointed so we have one more associate member. Arthur, your hand is up.
I was just thinking and listening to the conversation that we might want to codify some of what we're talking about. I resonate to what Matt was saying. One of the most important practices in strategic planning that I've been associated with is always having a reformulation component in schedule in the plans. Calendar that, and exactly what Matt was talking about takes place. And then setting up in that codification at least semi-annual meetings with the select board, a recruiting process, replenishment process, and so on down the line, so that we have maybe even only on one page a half a dozen or so ingredients that we follow in terms of the management of the future success of the committee.
Yeah, I think we may need at some point the select board to kind of convert us into a standing implementation focused committee. So that could be a follow-up item.
Whereas right now it's on an annual appointment basis.
Right. Do you think that should change?
I follow exactly what you're saying. I think this should be like other committees that are longstanding.
Mm-hmm. But not, I mean, it might be hard to recruit people for a term longer than 1 year.
It may, but as more people become enculturated to the impacts of climate change and energy changes and requirements and modifications, we may have another base to come in.
Yeah. Great. Well, folks, are there any other topics we'd like to discuss, or would somebody like to move to adjourn?
I'll move to adjourn, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Ron seconds. I think we can get away without a roll call vote on this. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, everybody. I really appreciate your
Good job, Alex.
engagement and the discussion.
Thank you.
And I'll let you know how the warrant committee goes.